Hello, today I'm going to teach you how to make this super easy sphere. The only supplies that you need are drawing paper, some type of colored pencil. I use Prismacolors, but you can use whatever you like, something that's round to trace, and a good attitude. You don't need a compass for this, just find something round that you can trace, like a roll of tape or a bowl or anything that you have. And I didn't even have a ruler at my desk, so I just used my Prismacolor pencil as a ruler. A little bit about what I'm going to be using today. I am using Prismacolors, which I like. They're kind of a mid-range price point compared to some other pencils, and you can use any kind of pencil you want. I'll be specific about the colors that I use, but use whatever pencil you want. Anyone can do this. It should be pretty easy. If you follow the link below in the description of this video, I will give you a free downloadable image of a sphere that you can use as a reference for this drawing so that you can have something to look at. I know that's often really helpful. As you can see, I'm just starting to kind of outline my sphere, and I'm going to establish where the light is coming from. So I'm going to make a little yellow sun so that I know that the light is going to be shining down on the left side of the sphere. Here's colored pencil tip number 1 if you want to be a better colored pencil artist. It's all about how your hand is holding the pencil. If you notice, my hand is way back toward the end of the colored pencil. That's going to give me softer lines, and it's going to give me a lot of control. I can be barely touching the paper and just kind of starting out with some really, really light shading that's not going to create those harsh lines that a lot of people hate when they're first starting out. You're going to be creating a soft transition, so you want to start really, really light and then build up and add layers. Make sure that you always start lighter than you think you need to, and then you can always add more. It's harder to take away. I'm going to be adding a lot of colors to this, but I chose a mid color, just the regular purple, and I'm doing a super soft layer of purple. And it seems like it takes forever. This is tedious. This video was 18 minutes long before I edited it. So you can see that even for somebody that does this all the time, it's a very timely process. I'm just gonna softly keep creating this transition from dark to light. You can barely tell that it's from dark to light right now. It looks like a small crescent. Here I go in there with the blue, and I'm gonna keep those edges really sharp. You wanna make sure that the edges of your sphere are not dark, but are very clean and sharp. I'm going to speed this part up so that you don't have to watch the shading of this. I am going to softly cover this whole crescent with the light blue, but I'm leaving a spot of white at the top, though I do fade it lighter and lighter as I get up there. And I want to make sure that that white circle that I leave at the top fades out and is also the same shape as the sphere. So far, we have a layer of the dark purplish indigo, and we have a layer of the blue. Feel free to turn your paper around as you work and work in a way that's most comfortable to you. I'm left-handed, so I often do things what look like they're backwards to other people. So do things just the way you want to, and it'll work out. I have now covered my sphere all with the light blue. It does fade up. There's a little bit of light at the top. Now I'm going to go in with that grass green. And because I'm making this have a few colors in it, though you won't be able to tell what they are when this is all done, and I am going in and I'm just adding a light layer of grass green all the way around that edge. Remember to keep adding soft layers. Don't be afraid to add several layers of colored pencil. It's much easier to add than it is to take away. So this is sped up, but you can see I'm just following that same curve, and I'm adding another layer of green just to darken it up a little bit on one side. One side is going to be skewed more towards the violet, and the other side is going to be skewed more towards the green. So I realized that I never addressed the weird way that I hold my pencil. When I was little, my teacher used to take my pencil out of my hand and make me hold it a certain way, the right way apparently, but I always went back to tucking my thumb into my hand. As you can see, that's how I hold a pencil. You don't have to do that. It's just a weird way that I draw. So next you're going to see me start to add more of the dark blue on the edge, and I'm also making my circle a little bit more round. I was going to leave a little bit of light white on the very bottom of the sphere to show a bounce back of light from whatever table it was sitting on, but I decided just to make it a straight sphere. Now I'm going in with a nice bright pink to add some variety and a little bit of yellow in the middle just to pop those highlights. You can do this or not. If you want to leave out the yellow, you can just leave the highlights white and it'll be a little bit of a calmer looking sphere. Now I'm going to add in some dark purplish magenta on the other side and really make that pop. I've got like 5 colors in this sphere so far, and I'm still not even close to being done. I'm going to put this on super speed so you can watch how I layer all of the colors as I start to get darker. Remember, when you are adding more layers, keep in mind that crescent shape that you're trying to maintain. Don't let your highlights get to be like a square, and really concentrate on making that transition from dark to light. Think value scales. Make sure that you can't see a clear line between your different colors and you can't see a clear line between dark and light. Now we're back to real time. I want you to see how I actually shade when it's not sped up. I am taking my time, I'm adding more of that indigo, and I'm just gonna make it even darker. At this point, I'm starting to press a little bit harder with that colored pencil. When you press hard and you make the surface of your colored pencil look a little bit shiny, and you can't see the tooth of the paper anymore, this is called burnishing. Burnishing is something that can be great in colored pencil, but in some situations you would also want to avoid it. I'm starting to do it a little bit on the edges of the sphere, but I don't want to rush to make it too opaque or too shiny because then that means I can't do any more layers of color. Now I'm just rounding out my sphere a little bit more. There's always room for just a tiny bit more improvement. Sometimes it's hard to know when to quit, but if you look at it and you see something that's a little bit off, chances are it'll get better if you just work on it a little bit more. I have one great tip for you that I just discovered not too long ago, actually. If you take a picture of your art with your phone, put it straight over the top of your artwork so that it's flat, like a lay flat, like an Instagram lay flat. If you don't know what that is, just do a little Google search. You can see things in the photo that you might not see with your eye. I don't know how that works, but sometimes I'll take a picture of some of my art and then I will look at it and I'll be like, whoa, this needs to change, or this actually looks done. So try it sometime, or have somebody hold your art that you're drawing.
I'm going to start drawing the shadow.
Like
the shadow is actually going to be an ellipse,
It gives
and
you
it will
a
be
totally
on the
different
opposite
perspective and gives
side
you
of
ideas to
where the
improve.
light source is. So I just kind of made up my shadow, draw a little oval shape underneath, and I am going to start by adding a dark violet for the shadow, and then I'm going to mix a little bit of black in with it. I never use straight black in colored pencils, and that's preference, but also a lot of professional artists kind of tend to stay away from using plain black. Instead, they mix their own black or their own dark neutral using either opposite colors on the color wheel, or like a dark purple and maybe a dark green mixed together, or even mixing black with another color kind of neutralizes the black and just makes it look a little bit better. I did decide to leave a little bit of white on the bottom of my sphere to show that reflection from the table. I wasn't sure I was going to do that earlier, but I think it does look a little bit more three-dimensional when you do that. When you make a shadow using complementary colors together, like red and green, for example, or violet and yellow, for example, or orange and blue, can create a little bit more depth than just using plain black. So I'm kind of combining. I'm not necessarily using opposite colors on the color wheel here, but I'm using a lot of the different purples and blacks and blues and putting them together to make this shadow. It looks like I'm just about finished. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole thing, and that's it. We're done. Hope you learned something.